Hi everybody, my name is Lynda Mayfield. Welcome to my video today. I'm going to demonstrate a watercolour painting of daisies. This is one that I've already done. I did this the other day and I'm going to do a slightly smaller version, and I'm just going to put 3 flowers on there. I've already sketched it out and I've masked around the edges. As you can see, I've used Pebeo drawing gum and I put that on with the angled chisel, colour shaper. What you might want to do, make it a little bit easier for yourself, you can mask the whole of the daisy. Will just take you a little bit longer. I'm going to use my Hake brush and I've got a number 10. I've got 2 number 10s. I've got an old one which I use for mixing and then a newer one which has got a really nice point on it. I've got my palette knife. I've drawn out with my 4B pencil. I'm going to use my 3H pencil for the finer details on the flowers. My scraper, I'm going to scrape out some of the stems. If you haven't got a palette knife, you can use an old credit card, store card, just cut the corners off. These are the colours I'm using today: burnt sienna, burnt umber, raw sienna, cadmium yellow, ultramarine, cerulean, indigo. Okay, let's make a start. See, I've drawn out the daisies and I've masked out the edges to protect and keep that lovely white. Now what you might want to do is to actually mask out the whole of the flower, because then that will really preserve that white colour for you. I'm going to try and get around those little edges, which I should be able to do okay. And I've also just marked out a few little ones. I've masked those out and just a few little splattery dots here and there for you. So I'm going to wet the background. So I've got my Hake brush and I'm just going to go on and wet this background, and that just helps the paint flow a lot easier. I want to keep it nice and light at the top and darker at the bottom. So don't go right into the flowers, just skim around the edges. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with the cadmium yellow and the raw sienna at the top. So I'm just dropping this paint in. It's nice, it's sort of like single cream really. Now I'm getting some raw sienna. Okay, and plenty of water on your brush. And then what we're going to do is just drag, it's just gone in there, that flower, just drag this around, going with some light green, and just let these colours blend on the paper. You don't have to be too precise about this, as long as you've got lighter colour at the top and darker at the bottom. I'll get some green in this central bit here. Just got to be a little bit careful just going around these flowers. If you've masked out the whole flower, you will find it easier. Can you see how I'm just using the point of the brush there, just to bring that paint down? A little bit more green over here. Raw sienna. Get some raw sienna down, kind of halfway. A little bit of the light green. This light green I'm using, I'd already got in my palette, and it is a mix of Payne's and lemon yellow. But like I say, you can use any light green that you've got in your palette. Good way of using up all your old dirty paint, really. Now if you've masked out all of the flowers, this part of the painting won't take you as long as it's taking me, because you haven't got to worry about getting in and out of all these little petals, so you'll find it a little bit easier, I think, to do that. You just have to spend a little bit longer when you were doing the masking, basically. So I'm just going to go into all those little nooks and crannies. Look, just with the point of my brush, just bring that down. Drag that in, and then I'm going to add down the bottom here just a little bit of indigo and lots of water. I'll spread this around, and what happens when you've got the indigo and the cad yellow mixing, you'll get nice green colour. like I say, all my paint that I'm using is all single cream in the palette. When I put it on the paper it's going to be more watery because I've got water on my paper and I've got plenty of water on the brush. Now if you can see what I'm doing now, I'm just dragging up some grassy stems. While your paint is damp you can keep working this in, it'll be absolutely fine. Right, I need some more water down here because that's quite dry in this corner. Always paint the way things are going and growing. Right, more water, and this is the last flower now, so I'm just dragging this in, this yellow. Bring that round. And I might just do a little bit of splish splash with the yellow. Like so. If you're worried about getting colour on your flowers, just cover them up with a little bit of kitchen oil or something. Right, I need some darker down here, and I've got a nice green happening there now. Some more darker down the bottom. Just be careful going through these flowers. It won't matter for you, but if you've masked them all out, you'll be able to do that, you'll be able to go through, and you'll still have that nice white. Right, a bit more yellow up here. Now what I'm doing, I'm just looking again at these daisies and I'm just neatening up the edges of those petals there, just with a nice watery brush. A little bit more yellow. And I'm going to add some more indigo. I just want it a little bit darker. Because I'm using smaller paper, although this is a 200 pound, you can see it's curving round a little bit. That doesn't normally happen, but it's because I've cut a small. That indigo actually is what I'm using, and I'm just bringing that through these flowers, and it just gives it a little bit more interest at the top of the painting. Right, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some salt. I'm just going to sprinkle that on. It's just normal table salt. And sprinkle that on while the paint is damp. It will just give you a nice little interesting effect, and it just adds texture really. And then I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to scrape up some stems. I'm scraping out the paint. I'm using that pointy corner. I want these to be fine. Right, I'm just going around now and I'm just neatening up some of these little edges. I'm just taking these into the corner of the flowers. Right, what I'm going to do now, folks, I'm going to darken this bottom area, and I'm using Neat Indigo, and the paint's quite thick. It's double cream consistency. It's damp on damp, so this paint underneath is it's drying, but it's not totally dry yet, so I can just drop these stems on. And then I shall do a little bit more scraping out. And what I want is some nice dark just going around this flower here, and that will really make that flower really stand out. Okay, and then take the palette knife again and just do a little bit more scraping. Right, there, my hand was at a bit of a strange angle, so I'm just painting over that one again. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to paint the centre. I'm going to finish this lovely daisy in the centre here. So I'm going to paint the centre first of all, and what I'm doing, I'm using a cadmium yellow, and we just want to paint over about halfway. Okay, then clean your brush, dry your brush, and then just feather and just soften that edge, because I've got the light coming down from this right hand side. Top right hand side. Just going to darken it a little bit more there, and then I'm going to, while it's damp, I've got double cream paint here, I've got burnt sienna, and I'm just going to drop a little bit of that in, and I'm going to just soften that back, just push that back a little bit now, and the same thing with the burnt umber. So this paint is quite dry. I'm just going along that bottom edge there. Okay, so I'm just going to just tickle that and just feather that a little bit. Need a little bit more cad yellow. And I'm going to drop in some lovely ultramarine just on this very bottom corner. And what I've got here, I've got some cerulean. I'm going to paint these lovely shadows in, so I'm just going to put some shadows on these petals. I'm just going around the top there and just fan that out, and just drop it in down these petals at the bottom just there. These are going to be a bit darker. So it's all dry on, it's wet on dry, sorry, it's not dry on dry, it's wet on dry. And I'm just going to pull that out. Just give myself some really nice shadows there. Push that back a little bit. Now and again you might just pick up some yellow, and that looks quite nice actually if you do that. Quite like that effect. This one's a bit strong, so I'm just going to push that back. Just push that back a little bit. Now here, I'm picking up that darker that I put on previously, so I've got that lovely burnt sienna, and the just put a bit more on because it's drying, and I'll put a little bit more the ultramarine on because I want it quite dark along this bottom edge. This paint is nice, it's nice and thick. Okay, so then I'm just going to pull that out. So I'm really pleased with that, I like that. Now that's gone there. So it's kind of pushing, pulling, and then I just pick up a bit of that turquoise from there, and I'll just take it along that bottom edge. That petal. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to add a little bit more of the burnt sienna, And this yellow's dried now, so what I can get is a little bit of texture on there. So some burnt sienna and a tiny little bit of burnt umber, not too much. Just on that left hand side. That just gives that centre a little bit more definition. Then just tickle that edge. Okay, and that is okay. So I'll finish that one. Now I'm going to do this other little one down the bottom. So the same thing again. So take that cadmium yellow and just going to paint it again like we did before, halfway across. Quite nice thick paint, double cream. Clean your brush, damp brush, and then just soften that edge going across. Okay. And then we can take some burnt sienna and just dot this in along this bottom edge. And some nice burnt umber. Dot that in. While that's damp, I can drop in the ultramarine. It's giving me a really dark edge. Just while that's calming down, I can put the, I'm using turquoise. No, I'm not, I'm telling you fibs. I'm using cerulean for this. So you could use turquoise, very similar. So I'm just going to put these shadows in again on these petals. So I'll do these along the top first of all. If it's a little bit strong, you can always just dab off with the tissue if you think they're a little bit heavy. Just push them back. Nice dark edge there. And then with the damp brush and a little bit of cerulean, just on that bottom edge. A little bit there. And then with your damp brush, just pick up some of that browny colour as well. Not too much, just spread it a little bit. That gives you a really nice dark there. It's nice, all those colours blend together, it just looks really nice. Damp brush again, just pull it a little bit more. Get that really nice soft edge. Missed one there, so a bit more blue, a bit of cerulean just on that bottom bit there. Now that brown's creeping into the yellow there, so I'm just going to, with a damp brush, just tickle that edge, push it back a little bit, and then I might just add a little bit more of the, while it's damp, a little bit more of the cad yellow. And then just soften that, but keep that light on that right hand side as much as you can. Okay folks, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to paint a few stems on, and I'm doing these with neat indigo, and we're just going up and just dragging on some lovely grassy stems, leaves. We don't want to be too neat, too precise with this, we just want them just to add another layer really in that background. Into a little petal there. So if you do that, just soften that back, you won't see it. Just flick that up. That's a bit hard. Just dump that back. Just want to make them different lengths really, so some shorter ones and some longer ones. Okay, Okay folks, so all we've got to do now is just finish off these tiny little daisy buds, and to do that I'm going to add some neat indigo just along the bottom. So I'm just curving it along, so just with the point of your brush, and then just flick up. You've got little pointy bits, and it looks like the little closed buds there and about ready to open. If it's a little bit dark, you can always dab with your tissue. So I'm just flicking that up, look. Okay. So start at the bottom, curl round and then flick it up. You can use your pencil if you like, just to round off that bottom edge. Just drag that paint along. And then what I might do is just dab just a little bit with the tissue because it's quite, so straight on and off with that. And then you can, with a damp brush, just soften it just a little bit so they're not so perfectly white, and just drag some of that paint. Just with a dabbing motion, just do that. And lift that one off as well. Okay, and then perhaps just another couple of stems. And that's it. So we've got a lovely daisy picture, really nice salt effect up there, and the salt was put on when it was damp, so I've got a really nice bit of texture, some nice darks at the bottom there, the little buds and the three. Okay, so folks, this is the finished picture. So we've got the flowers, we've got the little buds there, and I've got some really nice texture up there with the salt. So as I said, that was put on, and when I showed you before, you know, it was put on when it was damp, and that just gives you some really nice texture up there. I've added a few little stems, and quite pleased with that. Okay, anyway, thanks folks, so have a go and happy painting.